less than a year out from the Republican primary for the United States Senate in Virginia. I'm going to need a lot of time to raise money. Between now and September of this year, we're hoping to raise, I'm going to be totally focused on fundraising across the country, making the phone calls, doing whatever it takes to raise the financing necessary to remove Tim Kaine. Well, I think that people are looking for a fighter. They're looking for a conservative who is vicious, who is ruthless, who's going to take off the gloves, and who's going to is going to beat the hell out of his opponent. They're looking for that. They're yearning for it. The other thing is that you've got to speak your mind, and you've got, I was deliberately controversial because if you're not going to get the press. And when you're outspent, you have to have the earned media. That's one of the reasons I was as confrontational as I was, but that is kind of my style anyway. And then finally, you need to support the president. I think that a lot of Republicans are they're running away from him. They're afraid of him. You have to strongly stand by President Trump, and that was a recipe that almost won me the Republican nomination for governor of Virginia. I was working for President Trump basically through the end of the campaign in 2016. So I got into the race a little bit later, much later in fact than Ed Gillespie did. And if we had a little bit more time, if we had a little bit more money, we could have overcome that extra 1% that we lost by. In fact, we knew we had momentum. We felt it on the ground. We knew that people were starting to pay attention. If we had just a little bit more money, a little bit more time, we would have won. Now, why President Trump didn't win Virginia is pretty simple. I think people think, well, how can you win Virginia if you're close to the president? And the answer is this. The Clinton campaign outspent the Trump campaign in Virginia by 7-1. 7-1. And you had, the favorite son, you had Tim Kaine on the ballot. Obviously, that hurt President Trump's chances in Virginia. But the other thing was the campaign kind of gave up on Virginia. The campaign kind of gave up on Virginia and focused its resources on Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And you know what? I'm not going to second guess that decision because it worked. For some reason, it's okay for the left to act uncivilized, to go and attack conservatives, to be vicious and violently attack people, but yet, but if a Republican were to do it or a conservative were to do it, it would be, it would be the end of the world. Look, there's a double standard here, and we have to start calling out the left for these attacks, these physical attacks on conservatives, physical attacks on Republicans. And what happened in Alexandria with the shooting of the congressman is a direct result of the left essentially condoning the left's attacks on conservatives. Look, I don't even see it as just Southern heritage. I think Southern heritage is American heritage. And it's defending our history. It's defending our heritage. Whether you were born in the South or whether you came to the South, you have an obligation to protect its history and its heritage. And it's under attack. You have the left, the loony left, taking down historical monuments. It's wrong. And one of the reasons it's wrong is that, look, those monuments were placed there by a previous generation which wanted to remind us and future generations of the horrors of war and what happened. And they also wanted to remind us to give some appreciation to those who fought to defend the state. And I just think it's just wrong to tear down history no matter what it is. We have to take off the gloves and we have to fight. And we have to understand that a lot of the blue-collar supporters who are now on the Republican side and now behind President Trump, they look for a fighter. They want somebody who's vicious. They want somebody who's ruthless because they feel that their country is under attack. They feel like America is losing its way. And they feel that nobody on the right is doing anything to stop the left from destroying our country. And so when they see a conservative champion, a conservative warrior, somebody who's willing to be ruthless and vicious, that's why they're going to support. That's why they're going to support me, frankly, when I run and take out Tim Kaine. Look, it's very difficult to implement your agenda when you have so few of your staff, your appointees in there, and He really hasn't filled out his administration yet, and there's a lot of people to blame for that. But once that happens, you're going to, start to see some momentum there. And we just have to be patient. I remember Chris Matthews once. Chris Matthews saying that if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. And that's absolutely correct. One of the prime obligations under the Constitution of the United States of the federal government is to protect the sovereignty of the United States, to protect its borders. We're not doing that right now. We have people who are coming into our country, known criminals coming into our country. They're attacking, wounding, and committing crimes against American citizens. And after they're done with that, they're released right back into the communities. That's got to end. I ended that in Prince William County. If somebody's arrested in Prince William County, we check their immigration status. If they're here illegally, we send them off to the federal government for deportation. Our violent crime rate dropped by 50% in 2 years. That is what we need to do all across the United States of America. It's common sense. I don't care whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, or Asian. This is just common sense. People believe that if somebody's here illegally, they commit a crime, they should be deported. You are going to see the most brutish, vicious, relentless campaign that you've ever seen in Virginia, at least in a generation. Because I'm in this to win it. I'm in it to win it back for conservatives. I'm in it to take back our country. I will not stop at anything. I will be absolutely ruthless at taking down Tim Kaine and smashing any Republican establishment figure who tries to stop me.